Hello and welcome to the program. I am Femi Akonde and you are watching Politics on Sunday. It has been an interesting political week and a more interesting week ahead. The presidential race is getting filled up as political parties move closer to picking their flag bearers. The Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amechi, has declared his interest to contest in the presidential race. But he seems to have equated the presidential race to a track and field event and not about serious issues of governance and improving the lot of Nigerians. How will he manage the rigors of campaign for the APC presidential ticket and still run his office as Minister of Transport at a time when the sector is under attack? For the opposition People's Democratic Party, there are still many hurdles to jump. The issue of zoning the presidential ticket to the south now threatens to tear apart a party that has watched from the sidelines since 2015 after their 16 years grip of power was snatched by the All Progressives Congress. For the Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, he wants to consolidate on the successes of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, but he has been largely unable to clearly articulate what is his vision for a better and prosperous Nigeria. He has not talked about his blueprint for economic growth and infrastructure development. He says he will make 20 million Nigerians millionaires, and the question is, how? President Muhammadu Buhari has also promised to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, and his administration is implementing deliberate policies to achieve this. We will ask the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, Sadiyah Umar Farouk, how far the federal government has made impact through the social investment programs. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
This administration has three major agendas. One of them is bringing 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, and your ministry is at the core of this mandate. Tell us all you have been doing to ensure the administration realizes this agenda.
Well, thank you very much. Let me take you down memory lane. You may recall that on August 21st, 2019, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari created the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. And I've been opportuned to be the pioneer minister of this all-important ministry. And the core mandate of the ministry is to provide effective coordination of all humanitarian interventions, both nationally and internationally, to ensure strategic disaster mitigation, preparedness and response, as well as to formulate and implement social protection and inclusion programs in this country. So you can see that the ministry has a very critical role in addressing the issues of poverty in this country. It also has a very crucial role in addressing the issues of disasters as well as issues of humanitarian interventions as regards to cases of displacement and all sorts of the interventions that could alleviate the sufferings of our citizens. When this administration came on board, before it came on board, as part of the promises made, our campaign promises made to the citizens of this country, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari promised to put in place a mechanism that will address issues of poverty, which is bedeviling this country for quite a long time. So it's a kind of a social contract between His Excellency or the APC government and the citizens of this country. So in 2016, the creation of the National Social Investment Programs came on board. Then it was being championed by His Excellency, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, before the creation of the ministry. This social investment programs has 4 clusters. One is the job creation program, popularly known as the Empower program, which has 2 components of graduates and non-graduates. And this program is geared towards supporting our teeming unemployed youth, graduates who have graduated from schools but they've not been able to find job. So this program supports them temporarily by way of engaging them to teach in public schools, public primary schools, and then they are being given stipends of 30,000 naira per month. That is for the graduates. And we have another component under the graduate program, which is the N-Health. This is where we support our young doctors and nurses in public health institutions or health hospitals where they can provide their services and government pays them. And we have the N-Agro. All these are under the graduate component. And then for the non-graduate components, we have the N-Build and N-Tech. And these are specific programs for those who have not been opportuned to go to school or who have not been opportuned to go to higher institutions. But they can be supported to acquire different skills that they are trained. They are being provided also monthly stipends. They go through a period of training, after which they also go through apprenticeship. And at the end of the day, government provides them with starter packs for them to start their businesses based on the skills that they have acquired. That is for the job creation program. The other program is the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. This is a very, very important program because it's a program that supports pupils to go to school. Government feeds them 1 nutritious meal per day in public primary schools, primary 1 to 3. Currently, we have about 9.8 million of those children that the federal government feeds. This program has a whole economic value chain around it because you support, apart from, supporting these children by way of feeding them, it encourages school enrollment. You see high number of children being enrolled in schools because of this feeding. And then also you support the locals. For instance, the cooks who provides these meals, they are being supported because they are being paid for their services. And then even the local farmers who provide the food items to be cooked, we call them the aggregators. They are also being patronized by way of buying these products from them. So it's a very important component of the National Social Investment Programs. As I mentioned, it has a whole economic value chain around it. The other program is the Conditional Cash Transfer. This is a federal government initiative in collaboration or being supported by the World Bank, where we support poor and vulnerable households across the country in all the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital. Government supports them with 5,000 naira stipends or support monthly. And this goes a long way in supporting these families. Currently, we have about 1.8 million of such poor and vulnerable households that are on this program, and we have seen a lot of improvement in the quality of lives of these households or individuals within the households. The other program is the GEEP program, which is the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, and this is a program that supports our small business holders, the market money, farmer money, and the trader money components of that program. We support market women with 5,000 naira credit, which is interest-free and collateral-free, to be payable within a period of 6 months with moratorium of 3 months, so making it 9 months. Then we have the trader money, where we support also young individuals that engage in different kinds of trades with another 50,000 naira. And then the farmer money component, where we support our small scale farmers with 300,000 naira in terms of inputs and cash support. So you can see these programs are very, very key to improving the lives of our citizens, and these programs goes a long way in alleviating the sufferings of our citizens. It also goes a long way in supporting them to earn a decent living. And it plays a very critical role in actualizing His Excellency Mr. President's vision of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by the year 2030.
Well, many Nigerians still believe that they don't understand the extent the NSIP has impacted the lives of the vulnerable. Are there mechanisms in place to measure the impacts?
Oh yes, we have mechanisms in place. We have our website where you can go and check the number of people that have been enrolled onto these programs. For instance, the Empower program is a very transparent, process that we went through to really select the beneficiaries, because people have to go online to apply, and they go through some processes and procedures for selection before they are finally selected and being placed onto their primary places of assignment. So it's not something that is hidden, is opened. All Nigerians were given the opportunity to go in and apply. And we started with, I think when the program started in 2016, we started with 200,000 beneficiaries. And by 2018, I think 300,000 more were enrolled. And today we have 1 million, because Mr. President graciously approved the expansion of this program. So the Empower program now has 1 million Nigerians who are being onboarded onto the program. We have the batch C, we had batch A and B. The batch A was 200,000, as I mentioned, batch B 300,000. We now have the batch C, which is, we started with 510,000, C1, and now we have just onboarded the C2, which is 490,000. So, of course, it has impacted on lives. People who had nothing to do before, who when they wake up in the morning, there's nowhere to go to, they're hopeless, But this program has brought smiles, has brought back hope to these individuals, these youth. It has improved their lives, and many of them now have become entrepreneurs on their own. Out of the 500,000 of batches A and B, we have about 109,000 of those people who are now, entrepreneurs, and they are now employers of labor themselves. So we cannot say it has not impacted, but considering the huge population that we have in this country, especially given the survey of about 80 million people are living below the poverty line. Yes, you might not really see the impact, but it has impacted our lives.
Let's talk about a program that seems relatively new to the ministry, the alternate school program. When will this commence?
No, we have started. There are so many things to put in place before you can finally visibly see it really taking off. But we have started since last year, and the process has started. And yes, the number of out-of-school children is quite alarming. And so we sat and looked at these issues very critically. There are so many initiatives of government to tackle the issue of out-of-school children, even by previous administrations. But we seem to still be where we are. And so the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and the Ministry of Education, we sat down and said, okay, let us look at the issues. What are really the problems? Why is it that there are so many, for instance, in the Ministry of Education, there are so many of such initiatives, programs and even agencies that are, mandated to tackle the issue of out-of-school children. But still, we have these high numbers out there. So we said, okay, why don't we now change the tactics? Instead of taking these children to school, we take the school to the children where they are. So this is the basic principle of this out-of-school children, alternate school program. We have identified different groups from different parts of the countries who have been deprived of this basic education, either by way of their economic status or some cultural or religious reasons why they are not in school. So we said, okay, we now look at these programs under the ministry and see how we can incorporate them into addressing the issue of this out-of-school children by way of this alternate school program. We've gone around the country and we have identified these areas. We've identified these vulnerable groups who have been deprived of this basic education and said, okay, for instance, in the southeast, you see that most of the children that are within school age, or some of them, I will not say most of them, you find them as hawkers on the street or as shop attendants. And we said, okay, so let us look at the subjects that are very basic. We go to these places, we engage these Empower graduates who teach in these public schools to go and teach them mathematics, English, social science. There are 4 subjects and 1 other subject. We take some hours out of their solemn period and we teach them this basic literacy. We provide them with the meal that we provide the school children. And then we also incorporate their parents onto the JIP program, so that it can, motivate the parents to allow these children to be taught. Yes, there will be age limit, not so, because, there's no age limit to be literate, So for those who have gone beyond the teenage age, we are also going to teach them this basic literacy. And then we also support them through our Empower program, the skills component, of the program in different skills of their choice, where they can also be economically independent at the end of the day. And then in the northern part of the country, the prominent issue there is the Almajiri issue, where you see children roaming about the street begging. And so we said, okay, we'll identify, because all these children that we see on the street, they belong to a certain sangaya, we call it sangaya, these malams that keep them and teach them Quranic education. We go to them and we've started discussing with them. And then we also extract some hours from the hours that these children study the Quran. Instead of going to the street to beg, we use those hours to teach them this basic literacy, and then we provide them, because the whole essence of them going to beg, they go to beg for food. So we provide them with this food that we feed. And we also support the malams, with the stipends that we pay the poor and vulnerable households, or we pay them through the Empower components of the program, because they are also teaching the children some form of education. So we want to incorporate them with that. So that is the objective of the alternate school program, taking the school to the children rather than waiting for the children to come or forcing the children to come to the school.
An agency under your ministry, the Refugee Commission, launched a learning center in one of the IDP camps in Abuja. Tell us more about this.
This is schools in emergencies, where it has been there since the crisis started. We started having camps around the country. There have been this initiative of providing education to the children that are living in the camp. So the Refugees Commission is just enhancing the program to see how more children can be covered and how they can be better, have a more quality way of education there. We are working with partners in that regard. The UNICEF is working with us to see that these children in the camps are being educated. So it's all part of the initiatives that the government is bringing on board to address the issue of illiteracy in this country.
Indeed, the present administration of President Muhammadu Buhari places emphasis on transparency and accountability. Are there mechanisms in place to enable Nigerians hold people to account?
Oh yes, I think the first mechanism is the fact that we have brought all these agencies that checkmate excesses into our programs. For instance, the EFCC, they have a desk in the ministry. SSS, they are partners. ICPC, they are partners. So I think that is the first kind of check that we have put on ourselves. And then secondly, we have other internal mechanisms to check all these issues. We have a very robust monitor and evaluation mechanism to monitor and evaluate our programs. We also have the other organs of government that check all this. The Office of the Auditor General of the Federation has an office in every MDA in this country. We have our own internal auditing. And so I think accountability and transparency is our watchdog.
So what more should Nigerians expect from your ministry as the administration carries on the agenda of lifting 100 million people out of poverty?
Well, yes, we are looking at areas of improving. As always, you always want to improve on what you have. And my last word to Nigerians is to see the commitment, the political will of this administration to live up to its own obligations, by coming up with these very, very important programs that affect the lives of our ordinary citizens. In fact, this National Social Investment Program is the most generous or the most ambitious program in the sub-Saharan Africa. And so we call on Nigerians to support the administration to even do more for Nigerians.
Well, that is all on the program this week. You can see this episode again on TVC News YouTube channel. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. I am Femi Akonde. See you next time.